life for we're life and love with D with D.
Tea with D. Hey, welcome to Tea with D.
Hi.
We're drinking in some big life truths.
Big life truths.
Maybe some coffee, although neither of us have a beverage.
No, we don't. Why the heck didn't you bring me a beverage?
I almost did bring you a beverage.
You should have. That would have been really nice of you.
Yeah, it would have been nice.
Nice.
Not so nice. Hey,
Jeez.
I'm Dr. D. Frady with My Yes Life, and I'm a life coach, and I love to help people get rid of the garbage can thoughts that are floating around their big, beautiful brains so they can create a life without limits.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm sitting with one of my favorite people on the planet. Her name's Audrey, and she's with Hey Be Fab.
Hey Be Fab.
And I love Audrey
I love
for
you.
lots of different reasons.
Awesome.
But one thing that I really wanted to have her share today is her incredible story of how...
I'm so sorry.
real
I'm so
life.
sorry.
This is real life. About her... We're going to get all the notifications because we're live.
So, people are talking to me. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. You're so popular. So I just wanted her to share her story because I think that it resonates with a lot of people, and the biggest lesson is that it's up to you to take ownership of your life and say that this isn't happening to me. I create this. I choose what's happening. And hey, if it's not what I want it to be, I can choose something different. And I think that's something that you did.
Yeah.
And have created like so much awesome and are
Changed my world.
changed your world, but now you're creating this huge ripple effect.
Right, because I was so... the fact that it just completely changed everything about me. I'm so sorry, my phone is just like going off.
It's
crazy.
okay. Real life.
Real life. But so basically what happened for me in my life is that I was in this, I just had children. I found out my son was autistic, so I was dealing with his diagnosis. I had postpartum depression. I was living a life that I didn't think is what I wanted. And I was in this moment of like, I remember specifically, like I was sitting down, I was nursing my baby, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. This life that I have is just not anything that I ever thought that I would have. Like, I don't want to only be a mom, and I don't want to only be a wife. I don't want to be, I was an HR manager at the time. I'm like, I don't want to be just this manager that's like managing other people's lives. I want to do things that's going to feel good to myself. Like, and what was that? Yeah. And I just begged the universe. I'm like, just give me a purpose. Like, and I just said it over and over, and I was just sobbing, and it was just this moment of like such despair that I had. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't be living this life anymore. And it was just so important to me to say it out loud, because once I did, like the rush of freedom that came from that, to realize that I had the power and the control to say, I'm going to stop doing what I was doing, and find something that's going to give me a purpose or give me some sense of relief in my life at that time. It was just overwhelming for me. And I went to bed that night realizing that I could make the decision. I woke up and it wasn't like a magic switch, like, oh, hey, woohoo,
right.
Now everything is here and it's perfect. It was just like all of a sudden I realized that I had control.
Yeah.
And that I was allowed to make thoughts for myself. And I was allowed to be selfish, and I was allowed to be more than just a mom and more than just a wife and more than just my job. I was allowed to have all of those other desires and wants and needs. And so I took action upon it. Like, I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to have a purpose. And what's that going to be? I have no freaking idea. Like, I had no idea. I didn't know what I was going to do. I still don't even know, right? There's still moments in my time that I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do? But I do know that I am allowed to have joy and allowed to have happiness. And so, I said that to myself every day. I said, I just want a purpose. And I would just repeat it over. Like, you're just going to get a purpose, Audrey. You're just going to do something with your life. There's just going to be something there. And I just kept repeating that to myself. And then I started, finding things. Like, I started reading books. I started joining Facebook groups of strangers. Like, I'm like, I don't know people, and I didn't know any of that. I cut myself completely off from the world, that I was like, I have to be able to enter the world again. Yeah. And that's so scary. And it was at a time that I was like, social media was such a fantastic resource for me, because I was able to see and hear and experience other people's stories, that ultimately allowed me to share my own and be vulnerable on myself, that it was just like, that's so important.
Yeah. what I think is really interesting about what you said and part of your journey, and something that I see for a lot of my clients is, and people that I work with, is they think that they're just going to go out and like they're going to think their way into their purpose. Like all of a sudden one day, like the magic light bulb goes on and I know what my purpose is.
Right.
But what you did was a lot of experimentation.
Yeah.
And
oh
you
my
went out
gosh.
and you threw a lot of spaghetti on the wall to see like what would stick.
Yeah.
And you were willing to be vulnerable and show up in uncomfortable places, like, right? Going to a room full of strangers.
You know what I did?
That's how you found it, right?
No.
With all that experimentation.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you just about
Tell me.
So I joined this Facebook group. It's called the Ogden Rad Ladies.
Yeah.
And I had no idea about them. I didn't even know what it was. Like I was like, what is this weird thing? I don't even know. And on there, a person posted, "Hey, we do monthly meetups." And I was like, "Oh, cool." But I always had my kids. Yeah. I always had my kids, and there was a lot of other women in there that always had their kids too. So I was like, how about I'll just host a random one, and I'm just gonna invite all of these people to my house.
Yeah.
And bring your kids. And I'm like, just come with your kids. And I told my husband, and this is the time that I never did anything. I'm like, husband, we're gonna have like 20 people and all of their kids.
Which we're in Utah, so that means like 27 kids per person.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Right, exactly. And they're strangers. And my husband goes, "You are inviting strangers to our home, and you put our address in on the internet, and people are going to come to our home." And he's a very like hates people, don't want to be like. I mean, and so it was it was a huge deal. But I did that, and I was scared. I would want to say all the swear words, and I was scared so much. And it was weeks of me like prepping my house, like I cleaned it, I painted my back door, like I got tables. I did all of these things because I knew that I needed to have some friendships. And it was easier for me to take the steps of purchasing tables and painting doors and cleaning my home and getting ready for this thing that I knew that was gonna change my life and allow me to have friendships. It was easier to take those smaller steps and have something and have little goals to take over that. And so then I did. And it was tons of people came, and I didn't know any of them, and I got to meet them, and it changed a lot of my life, because then they all left, and I was like, oh, this is what it is like to find some other type of joy in my life. And so I was able to take those smaller steps and do things a little bit more.
So question for you, because I know sometimes my clients come to me also and say, man, like on paper everything is so good. Like I got everything I ever wanted. Mm-hmm. Why do I feel so bad? Why? And then like there's this shame for wanting more. Do you feel like you had that like any sort of shame in like looking at your life and saying there should be something more for me? Like there's something wrong with me because I'm not fulfilled from all of everything that I thought I wanted.
100%. Oh yeah, because I did. I had everything that I was supposed to have, right? I had a husband that treats me well. I had children that I wanted to have. I had a home. I had a job that I was very successful at, and I was making good money. I had all of those things, what do you do in those moments, right? Like you're like, I don't know what it is. I don't know why I'm feeling this way. But we're allowed to change and to evolve in our lives, and we're allowed to think outside of having those things. And I think it's so interesting is that once you get whatever you think that you were supposed to have, or what society was meant for you to have, or what you assumed that your life was going to be like, that you're like, okay, well, now that I have it, I'm not allowed to do anything else.
Right. No more growth.
No more change. Not allowed.
That's it.
And it's still, and it's just like, and so I think that's what the biggest feeling that you get with that, and that's why you have the guilt and the shame, is because you're like, okay, I have that, but now what?
Yeah.
Like, and so, and we're continue to grow. There's still moments in my life right now that I get all of the other things that I want. Like, oh, I'm like, I want to have an art shop, and I want to meet friends, and I want to do all these things, and then I get all of that, and then I'm like, but now I want this. Like, the whole purpose of life is to grow, is to expand your life, is to have knowledge, is to bring moments of joy and sorrow and pain and all of those things. They're there for a reason. Like, you're supposed to have them. You're supposed to learn from them. If we were supposed to just have a boring, mundane life, nobody would have any type of growth. Yeah. There would be nothing.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah. So I think it's super important to realize that just because you feel shame or you feel guilt doesn't mean that is because that you're doing something wrong.
Yeah. And our greatest like growth comes from the discomfort, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, everything that you have done in your journey was putting yourself out there and being vulnerable and being willing to be like uncertain, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But what is the greatest lesson, the greatest gift that you feel like you've gotten from your journey?
That's so tough, because I feel like I would say that the fact that I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Right? And that I say, I can always be like, all right, even though I'm feeling like a bad mom, or I'm feeling like I'm not doing the purpose that I was set out to do in life. I'm not feeling that I'm the greatest moment in my life, and I share that.
Yeah.
And I open up myself to other people, even if it's publicly or not publicly, or just a conversation, or I journal it.
Yeah.
And I just release it and allow it to be, and I can look at it for what it is. I can pick apart it and say, okay, even though I'm feeling these things, this is the reason why I'm feeling these things. This is what is going to it. Maybe I didn't sleep well enough. Maybe I didn't eat well enough. Maybe, I haven't done my art that I do normally. I haven't done these things. And I'm allowed to pick through all of those feelings and realize that I am allowed to feel that.
Yeah.
And I am not alone. There's others that feel the same way that I do. And we can come and we can support each other. And I think that's the greatest gift that I've gotten from sitting in these moments of despair, is that I can be like, okay. And that's why I think it's so important for me that I share so much, is because I want you to know that you are not alone. Like, you get that there's
It's that normalizing, right?
Yeah.
Like, our brain wants to tell us that there is something inherently wrong with us,
right,
because we feel this way, because
right,
we're different, because our life isn't that Instagram perfect. And
right,
the reality is everyone's feeling this way.
Right.
This is the way our brain has evolved. So I'm really glad that you said that the greatest lesson, because that you learn, and from my perspective, knowing you and what your journey has been, is the gift of connection. And I think that's what most people, right? Like, it's a primal need, it's a survival need for us to belong and to have that sense of connection. And and in our world, it's becoming more and more isolated, right? It's easier to hide behind our keyboard and to stay in our home and not be vulnerable and go out there and say, hey, I'm lonely, I want a friend. But that's what we all desperately, like, subconsciously are craving.
Right.
And so for you to say, hey, it's okay, like, my life is a little crazy, and I'm feeling all these really hard things, and I know you are too.
Right.
You're creating a space for people who aren't necessarily ready to step out and find connection in person, to find connection through the internet. So like that, it's a beautiful thing that we have this platform.
So nice
to bring kind of people into the fold. But what I would challenge all of you who are watching, and I know you would too, is when you're ready, and even do it before you're ready, to go out and find people to connect with. And when I first moved here to Utah, like, I didn't know anyone, and in the past, when at our different bases, I would wait until people found me, or that there were the opportunities to go and meet people. But here I was like, forget this, man. Like, I am making friends. I'm not waiting for a year. I'm not going to feel lonely. I'm not going to feel isolated. And I did the same thing where I was like, hey, in just like a same group.
Same
group.
The
other groups, I would put like, I want to go to coffee this day, this time. This is where I'll be. Who wants to join me? Or who wants to go on a lunch date? And I ended up going out with a bunch of strangers who became acquaintances. Some of them have become really good friends, like you, even though sometimes I'm like questioning that decision. Just kidding.
Every day I question.
And then other people are just like beautiful souls who I shared a cup of coffee or a meal with, and then
allowed it to be,
and that was okay, right? Because not everyone is going to be like the person that you are like connected besties with and like, but for me, the gift was in just like connecting with a new person, learning about them, and loving them in that moment, and being okay with like it just being that, like, not like putting a ton of expectations that I'm gonna go find my brand new best friend the very first time I go out, and they're gonna be like the person I do every single thing with. But like, to be open to like just meeting a lot of people until it organically happens.
Right. Yeah. And if it challenges you to, because if it's been a moment in your time, like how it was for me, it was years before I even did anything with anybody. It was like, I was just me and my husband. That's what we did. Me and my husband and my kids. And that was it. Or it's like his work friends, right? I never had that experience in my adult life of making friends. And that's so much more difficult.
Yeah.
And so to put yourself in positions that do make you uncomfortable and not having those expectations of what that is going to be is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
And I started slowly off in the internet and then went to the extreme. And you don't have to go extreme. You don't have to invite 20 people to your home. I just am a very like jump in, like let's take action now. True. Type of a person, because I knew that if I didn't do it that way for my own personality, I would never do it.
Yeah, kind of the go big or go home.
Yeah.
She's also the queen of the word vomit, so
if
you go follow her over at Hey Be Fab, you will learn all the things about her.
So much.
But it's really cool because, again, it's creating that space for people to be vulnerable, to talk about the things that are hard. So what is, in your journey now in taking ownership of your life and creating different results, what is the thing that you're working on now? What's the lesson that you think that, like, what's the next step in evolution of Audrey?
I want everybody's stories.
Yeah.
I just want to be a collector of stories. Because I found so much power in that I want to learn from everybody.
Yeah.
Like, I want all of the raw, real, like, in-depth, like, give me something that has turned your soul type of story and like turned your life around. And that could be from leaving a job or divorcing or having kids or nothing but, you know, getting up off your couch in that morning and how difficult that was, right?
Yeah.
I want every type of story that I could possibly imagine. I just want to immerse myself in people. Because I think there's so much value in connecting and being with people that's what I want. So like, if you want to share your story with me, like I want people to come on like my podcast and I want to like record you. I just want to even just have a cup of coffee with you. Even if we don't do any of that kind of stuff, I just want to be immersed in people's stories.
And even if you drink hot chocolate rather than coffee.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, you could whatever you want to drink.
Too.
That's too. That's
or wine. It's a judgment-free zone.
I mean, total. Whatever you want to do, we'll come and do it, and it will be great. Like, let me be a part of your life. That's what I just want to do. I just want to be a part of people's lives.
I don't think you have an option once you get near you. You're like, I am inserting myself.
I'm so sorry. You will now be my friend.
But
Too bad.
I love it. I love it because you're like, I see you. I see you're lonely. I see you.
Exactly.
Like, I don't see the stuff on the outside.
Right, exactly.
I see you. Like,
exactly.
I'm looking into your soul and it's okay.
Yeah, completely.
I love that you give people that permission.
Yeah.
I love that you gave yourself that permission.
Right.
First.
I had to give it to myself first. Yeah. I had to learn to love myself right now. And I had to learn to love myself and the very hard gunkety junk.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't do that, then I would not be where I am today.
Heck yeah. So. All right, friends. This is Audrey. She's awesome. Go see her at Hey Be Fab.
Find me.
You be fab too.
Be fabulous today.
Hey, if you want, you can schedule a free mini session with me. And this Thursday, I'm doing a live webinar on creating confidence. I mean, look at this confident being.
That will be so good, guys.
I can teach you guys how to do a little bit of that. Or your own version of it.
Yeah, so, you don't have to be like super crazy like me. There's all sorts of different confidences.
Totally.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us. Have a fabulous rest of your day, pretty people.
Have a good day, guys.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.